My name is Rusty. I'm a 25-year-old male, and this story takes place back in my home country of Puerto Rico, in the city of Mayagüez in 2015 on Halloween night. I had just turned 18 at the time and was starting college. For privacy reasons, I'll be changing the names of those who were involved in this story. My friends, Justin and Chris, and I were in the mood to go to nightclubs to celebrate Halloween. A wise man once said, "Halloween is much better when you're an adult," and my friends and I were determined to make that quote a reality. We had been planning this night for weeks. Halloween came around, and everything went as planned. We had an amazing time. Watching everybody have fun and drinking in their costumes really puts you into the Halloween spirit, which is usually reserved for small children. The clubs here shut down around 2 a.m., but we were still in the mood to have some fun. So we decided to go to a gas station and grab some booze. After a few beers, I came up with a brilliant idea. Explore this old abandoned house that wasn't far away from where we were. We were all drunk at this point and decided to go before the night ended. For the record, this is not a paranormal story, but I'll give you some context about why we wanted to check out the house. There's a local legend in this town, the House of the Mustang. There are many versions of the story, but I'll tell you the one I'm most familiar with. In the 1970s, a husband, wife, and their 2 daughters were going through a rough time financially. One night, when the wife and daughters were gone, the husband decided to use black magic to make a deal with the devil in exchange for fortune to help his family. After that night, the family's hardships faded away. However, as time went on, the family began to experience paranormal events in the house. Shadowy apparitions would come to visit them at night. There were multiple disturbances around the house without any rational explanation, and from time to time, demonic laughter could be heard echoing through the halls. One night, the family's Mustang suddenly burst into flames, which caught the house on fire, nearly burning it to the ground. It's unclear whether the family survived the house fire or not. The property has been put up for sale several times, but because many people believe the place is cursed, it sits empty, withering away from years of neglect. Neighbors claim that sometimes during the night, they can hear children screaming, as if they're being burned alive. They also claim to see mysterious shadow figures appear in the windows and hear the engine of the old Mustang revving up. There are rumors that many people have tried to remove the old, damaged car, but to no avail. Every time they do, power tools stop working, and even tow trucks malfunction. This happens so many times that they've simply stopped trying to remove it, and no one can explain the strange activity. Also, anyone who tries to take anything from the house is said to experience severe misfortune in their lives. I told this story to my friends during the ride there, and eventually we came upon the house. The only way inside was through the garage gate, where the old, burned-out Mustang was. We wasted no time exploring the home. After about 10 to 15 minutes, we decided to chill on the second floor near a window and finish off the beers we had. We planned to stay for only about half an hour, since we didn't want to get busted for trespassing. When we headed downstairs to leave, we saw a group of people heading toward the house. At first, we thought they were coming to check out the house like us, but things escalated when we saw they were carrying pistols. Through the window, we saw another group approaching. "Damn, why are there so many people coming here?" I asked. "Maybe it's a drug deal, and we're just caught in the crossfire," Justin suggested nervously. "Can you two shut up?" Chris snapped. "They're going to hear us." Our suspicion was confirmed. The 2 groups were gang members making a drug deal behind the garage gate. After a few tense minutes of hearing nothing but our own heartbeats, the unthinkable happened. One of the gang members spotted us through the window. Some of them ran away, but 2 of them came after us and ran inside the house. We had only a few seconds to react. Suddenly, Justin remembered he had a couple of flash bombs in his pocket. Fireworks that made a huge boom along with a bright flash, enough to disorient someone for a short time. If we used them at the right moment, we could make it out of this alive. The gang members were inside the house now. We ran down a narrow hallway and hid in the bathroom at the end. As soon as we heard them coming down that same hallway, Justin lit the flash bombs and rolled them outside the bathroom door. His timing was perfect. The gang members weren't ready for the flash bomb, and it gave us just enough time to push past them and flee the house. Unfortunately for us, Chris had parked a few blocks away to avoid getting caught, so we ran as fast as we could. The gang members were now right behind us, pissed off that we had outmaneuvered them with fireworks. In a split-second decision, we decided to split up. Chris ran off to hide somewhere while Justin and I ducked behind a parked car and some trash cans. We crouched down, trying to be as quiet as possible. We soon heard the gang members approaching. Expletive. "They're getting closer," Justin whispered. However, by some stroke of luck, a patrolling police car came down the street. The gang members immediately ran off. Justin and I stayed hidden for a few more minutes, just to be sure everyone was gone. We then got up, ran to Chris's car, and drove away as fast as we could. I was still scared out of my mind. We could have been killed or worse. The criminal activity in Mayaguez is pretty severe. One of the residential areas is known for being one of the most dangerous places on the whole island. Even today, it's still a big problem in the community. This all happened almost 8 years ago, and I'm still very good friends with Justin and Chris. Chris joined the Marines in 2018, and Justin is about to join the military. I'm not too far behind. I'm planning on joining the Air Force and studying for my master's degree in criminology. Justin and I are planning to celebrate Halloween one more time before we part ways. But obviously, we're going to be a lot more responsible this time around. The house still stands to this day, with the husk of the Mustang still sitting in its driveway. I think it's best for people to stay away from that place. When it's not being haunted by evil spirits, it's being haunted by gang members and drug deals. My husband and I have lived in our house for just over 20 years. We're located in a small town, so we know most of the people in the area. Sometimes, trick-or-treating in our town falls on a different night from Halloween. When this happens, we usually get a lot of out-of-towners coming through. My husband and I have a small fire pit on wheels and have made it a tradition to have a fire going during trick-or-treating, in case people need to warm themselves up. Here in Ohio, it can get pretty chilly in October. My husband tends to the fire while I pass out candy and make small talk with the people we know. I also give my feedback on their costumes. One Halloween night, our town had a lot of trick-or-treaters. We were ready, though, with plenty of candy to pass out. Things were going relatively well. Parents were coming up with their children, I was giving them candy, and my husband was keeping the fire stoked and making friendly chit-chat with folks as they warmed themselves before going back out into the cold night. Suddenly, from the direction of our neighbor's house across the street, a young boy in a Red Ranger costume came sprinting as fast as he could. He looked to be about 5 or 6 years old. I thought the little guy was just excited for some candy, so I reached out to give him some, but he darted right past me and stopped about an inch from the fire pit. He then said, in a slow, strange, monotone voice, "I want to be in it." My husband and I looked at each other. Did we just hear what we thought we heard? The boy was mesmerized by the flames, like something in the fire was calling to him. As the kid began to lean over into the fire, a man, who I assumed was the boy's father, grabbed him by the shoulders and backed him away from the pit. "Whoa, buddy, what do we tell you about going near fires?" The man said. It was as if this wasn't the first time this kid had tried to get into a fire. They walked away and went on to the next house. But my husband and I couldn't help but think that we had just witnessed a future serial arsonist. We didn't recognize them, so we assumed they were out-of-towners. And we hope that's where they stay, out of town. To this day, we still have fires on Halloween night, but now we have a caged fire pit with a lid. That way, nothing but fire can be in it. This happened last year on Halloween. I was 18 back then, and my best friend Andrew was 17. We both thought we were too old for trick-or-treating and didn't like the idea of handing out candy. However, there was this old, abandoned house in my neighborhood that I wanted to explore. Andrew didn't think it was a good idea, but I sort of pressured him into joining me. "Don't be such a candy ass, bro. We have to do something on Halloween," I said. We waited until trick-or-treating time before heading out to the house with our flashlights. Along the way, I noticed all the kids trick-or-treating, and for some reason, it made me feel like gagging. Part of me always hated Halloween, and I never really understood why. Maybe it was because I thought Halloween was stupid, But the idea of exploring an old, abandoned house on Halloween night sounded like fun. I didn't know the backstory of the place, but the entire first floor was essentially a junkyard, and a few of the windows had boards over them. Maybe we should just leave. I don't want to spend the night in jail, Andrew said nervously. Would you stop being such a coward? We're here to have some fun. We could pick up some kind of disease or walk in on a homeless guy jerking off. That doesn't sound like fun to me. You're just being paranoid, Andrew. Tell you what, we'll leave at the first sign of trouble. Okay? All right. Without another word, we went up to the front door. I was half expecting the door to be locked, but it turned, slowly creaking open. Andrew and I exchanged glances. I don't have a good feeling about this. If it's unlocked, someone could be squatting here, Andrew whispered. When do you ever have a good feeling about anything? Come on, we can't back out now. Even I was starting to get a bit creeped out at this point. We entered, turned on our flashlights, and made our way down the hallway before coming to a staircase. I'm going to go upstairs, I told Andrew. Oh, so now you're into it? Andrew said sarcastically. No, just hoping it smells better up there. Okay, I'll check things out down here and then join you. Andrew disappeared up the stairs, and I walked into an empty room, wondering why the space wasn't cluttered with junk like the rest of the house. Then, suddenly, I heard a loud noise behind me. Andrew, I called out, but there was no response. However, I did see something moving at the end of the hallway, but when I aimed my flashlight at it, the movement was gone. I was freaked out more than I cared to admit, but I noticed an area at the end of the hallway that looked like a kitchen. I decided to check it out before joining Andrew upstairs. I poked my head into the kitchen and didn't find anything of interest, just more junk strewn about. Then, I stepped on something that nearly caused me to slip. I moved back and looked down. It was a big kitchen knife, the kind Michael Myers would use. I started to pick it up, but decided I shouldn't touch it. I didn't want to think about the implications, so I headed toward the staircase. As I reached the landing, I heard a loud scream. Andrew, are you okay? I ran up the stairs toward the noise, but when I got to where the screaming was coming from, it was too dark to see inside the room. I stood in the doorway using my flashlight to scan the area. That's when I saw Andrew, sitting in the corner of the room, scared to death. And then, I noticed there was someone else in the room. Hey, get away from him, I shouted. The figure turned toward me. In my beam of light, I saw a very tall man wearing a Michael Myers mask. The figure just stared at me, his breath muffled by the latex mask. I knew what I was about to do was a stupid idea, but it was the only thing I could think of. Andrew, run, I shouted as I threw my flashlight as hard as I could at the man, hitting him directly in the face. I heard him grunt in pain as Andrew and I ran down the stairs. As we bolted, we heard someone shout, "Damn it, you broke my nose." We didn't look back until we were down the street. Out of breath, I bent over, trying to catch my breath. Andrew then pulled out his phone. Expletive. I'm calling the cops. No, don't do that. We'll be on the hook for trespassing and assault. But that expletive threatened to kill me before you got there, Andrew argued. It'll be your word against his. Plus, my parents would be seriously pissed if we got in trouble. Let's just get out of here. We headed back to my house, and once we settled in, I grabbed my laptop and started looking up stuff about the old house, but I couldn't find anything. Whoever that person was, they were probably just using the house as a hideout. This year, Andrew and I decided we're not doing anything crazy for Halloween. We're content with helping our parents hand out candy instead.